I was born in a small town. I was born in a small town. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, last night we had the VP debate, and I think everyone agrees, at least around 70% of the public thinks that JD Vance completely outclassed Tim Walz. It was very obvious from the start that Walz, especially at the beginning, was not in Vance's league when it comes to intellect and when it comes to debating. And Vance, I knew he was a great talker. I was telling people he's going to do very well in this debate. And I do think when you look at all of the metrics, you look at something like Polymarket, the way it shifted, you look at some of the post-debate polls. I know CBS released a poll that only had Vance winning 51% to 49%, but somebody made a very good point in my chat. When you compare the favorabilities of both Vance and Walz coming into the night, Walz was sitting like plus 12, Vance was minus 8. So for Vance to make up all of that when it comes to the general electorate, because they like Walz significantly more, for Vance to make up that much, I do think it's going to help his favorability rating a lot when it comes to just how empathetic Vance was. And I think Vance did a really good job of like simplifying topics and allowing them to be relatable to general people and having empathy, something that maybe isn't so much shown with Trump. Vance did a very good job with it, and he just came off really, really well. And so it's funny because the dynamic of this is CNN said Vance won, obviously Fox News, CBS, ABC even said it. They said that Walz had a similar debate performance to Biden because of how bad he started. And then there's MSDNC. And let's see their reaction to this. It's probably totally stable.
It's the audacity. I agree with you that we're in year 9 and no one knows how to cover the audacity. The audacity is that someone should have said, stop it, stop. Are you effing kidding me? And they should have dropped that F-bomb, right? I mean, they should just, this is a debate.
Bitch,
this
please.
is the only chance people have to see the difference.
Feisty. That's how bad it was for liberals last night. They're basically rage quitting, telling Walz to drop an F-bomb on stage on Vance. Oh, man, I love it. We've got her, what is this, mansplaining?
Like muting powers.
Yeah.
And I actually think if you're a woman, that might be the worst moment J.D. Vance had, because he was going to mansplain right over that mute button. He was, and again, I don't pretend to know how everyone will react to this. I think that a lot of women in positions of authority that should command respect just by virtue of that dynamic will see themselves.
Command respect. We just saw you saying that Walz should have dropped the F-bomb. Now you're talking about commanding respect. Come on. We got Lindsay Davis. Remember her? She basically admitted they rigged the debate against Trump, the ABC debate. She likens Tim Walz's debate performance with Biden's debate performance. That's how bad it was. And yes, certainly Biden's was worse, but Walz was really bad at the beginning. Really bad. And I guess the only liberal cope is that, oh, Walz picked it up. He did better in the middle and towards the end. But I think Vance was just clearly better. And they're trying to argue that, oh, Walz. And this is what Rachel Maddow said. So the debate ends. They go to MSNBC, and Rachel Maddow basically hijacks it and says 2 seconds into after the debate being over, she's like, well, Vance is a better talker, but Walz had more on substance. The exact same thing that far leftists used to argue why Biden beat Trump. Remember, there were liberals that argued that Biden beat Trump in the debate that caused him, the incumbent president, to drop out because of how horrible he was. And there are liberals that still tried to argue that he won that debate based on substance. And they're trying to do the same thing here. Now, how much will this debate actually affect the race? Probably not much. I do think it's going to help JD Vance. In 2028, people are talking about JD Vance. I've said the dynamic there is that if Trump wins in 2024, JD Vance is going to be the overwhelming favorite in 2028. If Trump loses, it's not going to happen for Vance because he's going to be part of a losing ticket. And I still believe that after how good he was when it came to being presidential and explaining things during that debate. Trump certainly made a good choice, and a lot of people disagreed with Trump's pick of Vance because strategically it might not have been the best. But when you compare these two, because they're very similar in the sense of Vance really not helping Trump out in any swing state, and Walz really not helping Harris out in any swing state. But at least Vance is a very good debater, and he's really good at getting the MAGA message across without sounding obnoxious or ridiculous. Walz, on the other hand, is just not, he's just not good in public. Now, you could say, well, Walz is more likable But I mean, in general, it's like, it doesn't really matter the likability of VP candidates. It's more so, what is your substance? And I think Vance really helped himself when it comes to his future. Maybe it influenced. I mean, listen, when you're talking about the VP, Vance tomorrow could be president, and I would be very comfortable. He knows his shit. Walz, on the other hand, is a total headless clown. I mean, he's just like a chicken with his head cut off. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And so the idea that I mean, obviously nobody thinks Kamala Harris should be running things, at least, not many people that watch these videos do, but imagine Walz running things. It's just, I think Walz is the perfect VP to be a part of a losing ticket. Like, it just fits so well. And I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. You've also got swing state votes. Voters say that Vance won the debate 64% to 36%. Looks like 14 people to 8 people. Yeah, that's about right. 65, 35, 70, 30, I would say. Walz caught lying about Project 2025. So not only do they lie about Trump's involvement in Project 2025, they act like it's this brand new thing. No, the Heritage Foundation does this every time there's a Republican candidate who might win. They put out basically an itinerary. And then you've got that not only lying about Trump's involvement, like it's this brand new plot, they also lie about what's in Project 2025 as well. You've got Jen Psaki saying they need to free Tim Walz and let him cry. That's how bad the debate was. And basically I have seen Democrats say they blame the establishment for basically holding Walz hostage and forcing him to be like this robot and not allowing him to be himself. And it's very obvious. I mean, there were Democrats that were very, very angry with how Walz approached the debate last night in terms of the amount of times he was agreeing with Vance. Because you have to remember, if you're a far leftist, I mean, they're all atheists, so their religion is being a Democrat. And they think Republicans, they are the metaphorical devil. And so when you've got your own VP agreeing with the devil on 4 or 5 different topics, that's a very tough pill to swallow. And a lot of liberals were not happy with it. And you could tell that, I mean, Vance was kind of agreeing with Walz on some things. They were trying to find common ground. It was certainly a much more presidential debate than the actual presidential debate. But Walz was definitely giving in more than Vance was, and that pissed off liberals because, again, they think Trump is Hitler. How could you agree with anyone that's related to Trump? They think Vance is this horrible racist. They defined him as a woman-hating dude, and now you've got Walz agreeing with him, and they hated that, the amount of times that Walz did agree with Vance. And I thought that was an interesting dynamic to look at. And then you've got this was kind of the viral photo. You could have taken a picture of Tim Walz really at any time last night, and it would be an awkward face. Remember when he would look at Vance? I remember my chat saying that Tim Walz has like the cat little puppy eyes. He would be like this. Like, that's what he did. He'd look at Vance and he'd be like, I mean, he's got like these almost like crying eyes. Like, that's what he was doing. But yeah, and then you've got Vance just like, bro, come on, this is pathetic. But you could take a screenshot of. I was going to take a screenshot last night of Walz while I was watching the debate, but I didn't do it. You've got Jen Psaki admitting that J.D. Vance seemed at many moments to be reasonable and that Walz was missing the magic. How do you lose climate change as a Democrat? How about climate change being the number 2 topic? Really? I know. I mean, I guess they talked about a lot of different. Towards the end, it seemed like it was all liberal topics, though. I don't know. And there was like that climate change, the moderators. I don't think the moderators really. Guys, the thing is with the moderators, when they're not allowed to fact check, it's very hard for them to interfere much. Now, you could say, well, they were biased against Vance. And at the beginning, they were a little bit more biased. Then at the end, it kind of got better, like the middle. But when they're not able to fact check, it's very hard for them to really make any type of difference in the race. You've got John King admitting from CNN, Vance carried it on the top 2 issues, the economy and immigration. So I was just thinking about this. Maybe like this election is right in front of our eyes. Donald Trump leads economy according to voters by around 10 to 12 points. Donald Trump leads immigration by 12 to 15 points. If you've got one candidate who leads the 2 most important issues in the election by double digits, how does that candidate not win? I understand it's going to be close. I understand there's a bunch of Democrats. I understand there's a lot of money against Trump. They're calling him Hitler. But when you talk about the 2 most important issues, CNN saying the 2 most important issues, economy and immigration, Trump leads those issues significantly. The 2 most important issues. I could understand if you could say, well, maybe Trump leads it by 3 or 5, she can still win, but he leads the issues by over 10 points in both of them. It's right in front of our face. There's no way Trump's going to lose this election. It is so obvious, in my opinion. I just thought that was pretty good. And then all 3 panelists agree that Tim Walz got crushed by Vance, and this is where they were kind of talking about, did Walz over-prepare? I just think they kind of had Walz memorize a bunch of crap, and I mean, he's just not a good debater. It is what it is. It's not an organic debate. Final focus group vote tonight for the VP debate, 12-2 in favor of Vance. And these are independent voters from Nevada, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, very important states. 12-2 independent voters in favor of Vance over Walz. And we saw what happened with Polymarket, where it was around 66% for Walz, and then it dropped like a rock right away, and then went back up and then fell again down to the 30s. So I think we all know that Vance clearly won this debate. You can argue how much does it actually impact the election, but I would certainly, and I think a lot of independent people would feel more confident if something happened to Trump with J.D. Vance in charge rather than if something happened to Harris with Walz in charge. I mean, Walz cannot lead anything. This is ridiculous. And I think last night really did a good job of showing the different league that Vance is in compared to Walz. And that's why even, CNN is admitting that Vance won the debate last night. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.